there in yesterday's panel, but I'm sure enough of bashing would have happened about the DRP. Just if I'm on the other side, I have several friends who are members of DRP, and they have asked me a question. Read the law. Does the law give the power to the DRP to adjudicate a dispute or to settle a dispute or to arbitrate on a dispute? And he says that the increasing expectation of taxpayers is that the DRP will arbitrate a dispute. A classic example is I filed a cost plus 10%, transfer pricing officer has proposed cost plus 20%. Now can the DRP come in and say no, it should be cost plus 15%, because then DRP becomes more of a settlement authority. And that's really the debate. It says that it requires an amendment in the law, but then it also is giving away an arbitrary power to the DRP. So I think there has been a lot of criticism that even the CBDT chairman and others in the North Block are familiar with, that DRP as an authority, if it continues to function the manner in which it's functioning, I think it will entirely lose its relevance, because I think when it came in, everybody was so positive that it is an authority that's going to act. Any experiences, Bill, pleasant, unpleasant?
Well, I can't say that my experiences have been positive. I'll put it in that frame. Yesterday, for those of us that were here yesterday, the statement was made that perhaps that there's a lack of accountability, that nobody is taking responsibility for these decisions. It's basically passing the buck on to the next level. All I can say is that from our experience, the DRP has the advantage of speeding you to the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. That's really the advantage of the DRP. But we have received no joy other than that.
Efficacy of Indian resolution, Supreme Court recognized it way back in Visakhapatnam Port Trust case that it should be settled rather than through the court system. Questions are getting raised, and these questions are not necessarily from the taxpayers, but they are coming from overseas taxpayers, competent authorities. How effective is India's dispute resolution mechanism under MAP? What kind of protocols are there for competent authorities to meet, sit, resolve a dispute? Because here, unlike a DRP, I think there are wide powers given to the competent authorities, and at the end of the day, it is a settlement. It is where two tax authorities of two countries get together and say, well, we have a tax treaty, and one of the guiding factors of the tax treaty is that the taxpayer should not be subjected to economic double taxation. So somewhere the taxpayer has to get a relief. But questions are getting asked as to how effective is the Indian MAP mechanism and how effective are the Indian competent authorities. Any experiences, Bill?
We've had several experiences with the Indian MAP authority, and I would say they've been. It's kind of a mixed bag. I'm actually very happy with the fact that we do get resolutions, we do get agreements between the competent authority. I think the Indian competent authority is minded to settle with the U.S. competent authority. I think that's one of the advantages that we hold. There's a lot of back and forth between those two authorities, at least. That you might not have if you were, say, from the Netherlands or another smaller country. But I will say that it's not in all cases that we agree with the result that's been agreed between the two authorities. There's a good history, I think, of settling things on a practical basis, without regard to principle, and just saying, well, look, we'll agree that India can tax this part, and we'll agree that the U.S. can tax that part, and we'll just leave the principles aside. And that's perfectly okay. I don't mind that. But there have been situations where we believe that the authorities have reached an agreement that perhaps is not supported by the rules, particularly in transfer pricing cases. So, we feel that perhaps in those cases the competent authority process doesn't work as well as it should.
Gokul, any experiences on the recent settlement?
Well, Mukesh, the way I look at the MFE is that it cannot be a solution on a mass base. It's not meant to be a mass-based resolution system. It is not geared and not meant to be resolving hundreds and thousands of cases which are arising. But the challenge is that if you look at the transfer pricing office here, where we have the tax office talking about the fact that if there are 9,000 cases that come before them, they make adjustment in 7,000 or 8,000 of those cases. Then I don't think the Office of the Competent Authority or the MFE process is ever meant to then provide the solution on such a mass scale. And that's where I think the challenge is. The challenge is that we are extremely litigious at the base level, and none of these mechanisms are having the ability to deal with resolutions on such large scale. And we are seeing that whether it is through the normal judicial fora of the Supreme Court, whether we're talking about the MFE process, none of these institutions are meant to be dealing with such a high volume of transactions.
So we have another authority not living up to its expectation on dispute resolution, you know, for all you know, after 3 years we may come out with another 5th or 6th authority. Again, it's, you know, which goes back to this question that we can have multiplicity of these authorities to resolve issues, but we are not getting a solution anywhere. I don't think that it's not just the taxpayers who are not happy, even the administration is not happy. And then these questions get elevated in the parliament, and the parliamentary committees get involved. You know, what are the arrears of tax cases, you know, how many are defaulters, what is the outstanding, and then these famous figures come in, 1 lakh crore, 2 lakh crore of outstanding taxes. Any thoughts on that, sir?
See, my view is actually you can create authorities, but you have to choose the right persons. No? And previously the AR had a good chairperson, Justice Venkatrama Reddy, and his track record was quite good. But if you choose some favorites or persons on other considerations, the authority itself is bound to fail. And that's what has been was happening in regard to most of these authorities, including settlement commissions.
Yeah.
And we'll have to, I think, find out some solutions to that.
Yeah.
And even with regard to MAP, if we actually consider MAP, it is actually being headed by a bureaucrat in the North Block. He has got so many other responsibilities. And how much can he handle? Therefore, you must actually seek to appoint a competent person as an appropriate authority who has all the time to go into these issues, instead of actually entrusting it part-time to a bureaucrat.